Philby.
Here.
Director Peck.
Here.
And I am Director Riddle. I'm present. The others are en route.
They're at a ball game. When the ball game's over, they will be here.
I'd like to welcome everybody. The usual candidates are here. The principals are not here, so we don't have any communications or celebrations. We have no public, so there are no public comment cards. Item number 6, approval of the proposed agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the proposed agenda. Are there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 7, the consent items.
I'll make the motion to approve the consent items.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent items. Are there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Item number 8, early retirements.
You have 3 certified, 1 non-certified early retirement. Lot of years of experience in those. I would recommend that you approve them and thank them for their service.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the early retirement list. Are there any questions or discussion?
I have a question.
Yep.
If we approve and accept those now, we were not taking any, like if somebody would decide next week, oh, hey.
No, they had to be in by this date. Yep.
Okay.
Now, to be fair with that, I, one time in my career since I've been here, had somebody that's life situation changed and I brought it back later and we were too late to let us do it. The state law says you have to have it by April.
Okay.
And so we're early, but yeah, I mean, it would have to be a special circumstance. The time to take it is done.
We put a deadline on it.
Yep.
Well, I thought we did, but I couldn't.
Yep, no, they had to be in by January 4th.
Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Item number 9, early retirement for administrators or the administrative group to be more.
So when I was planning for next year and we're trying to do our budget, I'm always looking to see which ways you can save money and it might not be money this year, it could be money in future years. We have a early retirement plan for a non-certified, we have it for a certified. You don't have anything up there for your administrative group. What the current plan is for your certified group is not healthy enough to entice the administrative group just because they're in a different group and they have different benefits and salary requirements. Your administrative group could act just like your teachers to where if you have an early retirement and it costs us significant, but your savings is also significant. And so if you get turnover into that group 3 years early, it can help balance the budget in future years. So what I would like to do is start a 3rd category, offer it this year, offer it this month to be accepted if for next month if anybody wants it. And then in the future, when we come out and throw out early retirement packages, you can offer all 3. And it's not something you have to do every year. It's not something you even have to do every other year. It's something when you feel is a need, you can set it out there and see what you can get with it. It's getting harder and harder to retain principals, and I'm hoping that this could help with the retention of them too as they hit a certain age. Because if you see a package at the end, it gives you something to stay for versus move to another job where they have higher salaries and a bigger school.
I would motion we approve administration early retirement package.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the early retirement for administrators package as presented, I presume. I did talk to surrounding district, and they do offer their administrative group an early retirement package. I didn't really chase how much it was. I was kind of trying to get a little bit out of them, you know, what they do in general for early retirement, you know, even for staff, certified staff or non-certified staff. It appeared in their situation, insurance was the biggest issue, even for certified staff or anybody else. So I think they said for certified staff, they just offered insurance, single insurance through the age of 65. They didn't give any cash. That was just what they offered. So I think we this probably is headed right along the right direction. From what I could gather, and that was rather quickly. Just talking to me.
And I also always put in a year, so when we do the planning, when we're doing the taxes, that if it's open-ended, I don't care when you retire, but if you leave it till 65, it can go from 55 to 65. That benefit can get pretty expensive on you over a 10-year period, where if you do 3 years, it's capped and you know what your expense is gonna be.
Well, and I think in insurance, we don't have to count that all up front. Teresa, is that correct?
I'm not sure, I'll have to check.
Because we used to,
You mean it wouldn't be a payable? Is that
right,
what you're
because we
saying?
used to, when we did early retirement for certified staff, we paid something every year for 3 years. And the auditors said, no, you can't do that any longer. And I'm thinking with insurance, you probably can, because that's a benefit rather than
I'm thinking cash you can't spread out, insurance you can spread out.
I think so too. I
Well,
can check on.
we would have to check it to make sure that we're within compliance, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it was, because I know when I first came on, when we were doing it, we were paying over 3 years.
Yes,
Then they came back and said, no, you can't do
That's
that.
why we switched it to that 1-year payout.
Right,
Yes.
so,
that's true. I just don't know
yeah.
it. Insurance.
I know that insurance you can pay over the 3 years when it's due, because that's how the package is set up.
So that would you show the expense in the year, which,
You would
so
show it.
you'd have more payable.
Yeah, your second year expense would be next year, and your third year expense would be the third year.
Right.
So,
Yeah, although I don't know, again, you really need to ask, because they forced that IPERS on us now, where we have to count all of the IPERS that our people could draw in their lifetime,
Yes,
even though we're probably never going to have to pay it.
that was the negative. We will ask the auditor to be for
Yeah.
sure on that. to make
Yeah.
sure
It's
that
just something,
rough load.
if we decide to pass this, something we need to talk about. In Aaron's case, I don't, how much of this you have got acquainted with yet. If we offer the package for early retirement, and I think we talked about it when we did the certified staff and the sports staff, whatever monies we spend on that can be paid out of management. Management is a tax rate that we control. The state doesn't control, the local district controls it. So if we decide we're gonna spend $100,000 out of management for early retirement, then we're allowed to tax that to our taxpayers. And then any savings there is, if we go from a $70,000 a year staff member to a $40,000 a year staff member, that difference, the $30,000 then is a savings in the general fund. And the general fund is always where we're tightest on money. So that's why it's a management right, and it will sometimes help us with the budget, which is what Jess was talking about
Gotcha.
in our future plan.
And it works for schools, it doesn't work for anybody else out there.
Right.
You know, if a business trying to do it,
Right.
it's coming out the same kitty, right? It's
Right.
coming out different kitty.
So that's kind of the justification why we talk about it, so. Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 10, designate official newspaper for 2021.
In the past, this has been the Eagle Grove Eagle. They do a great job for us. I would recommend to keep that the same.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to designate the Eagle Grove Eagle as our official newspaper for 21. Are there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 11, FFCRA leave.
So this is the COVID response leave. At the beginning of the school year, every employer, actually, and it wasn't just related to schools, but you could give 10 paid days if they got COVID. There was a category for if your kid got COVID. There was a category if your family got quarantined. And we followed that all along. Now that expired December 31st. The federal government has extended it till March 31st, but schools can choose to participate or not participate. Even by the time before, there's no benefit for schools. And you guys who are in a business or doing books for business, if you owned a business and you paid the employee 10 days, you could take it as a tax credit on the other side. We don't pay taxes, so we don't get a tax credit. We still had to report it, but there was no benefit. That's why they let schools opt out of it this next time, is there's no tax credit to try to go back and get. On the flip side, I recommend that we continue with it because I don't want somebody to come back and say, I'm being discriminated against because I got COVID on December, or you got COVID in December and I got it in February, and now I've got to take it out of my sick days or don't get paid. I would like to, and it doesn't renew dates, so if you used your 10 days are gone. It's been a nice tool that's allowed us to try to keep everybody equal and pay everybody equal. I would recommend that we keep it through the 31st. Once we get to the 31st, I personally would do it till the end of the school year, but the government's only goes till the 31st, and then you have to revisit it at that time.
For now, unless.
For
they
now,
extend
yeah.
it again.
So there's no benefit for the school, it's a benefit for your employees. That being said, we're not out of it yet, and we're still going to have employees that fall into the situation. So I would like to keep the same matrix, so I treat everybody equally on it. But I need board action if we're going to continue it.
I'll make a motion to continue the FFCRA leave.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to continue the FFCRA leave as outlined. Are there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 12, appoint a new school attorney since Mr. Engel retired.
As of January 1st, Rick Engel has retired. He's been our school attorney for as long as I've been here. As long as you've been here, Teresa, a long time. And he did a good job for us, but he is retiring. A lot of schools in our area, in fact, almost all of them in our area, use Ehlers and Cooney. There is one out of Cedar Rapids that you have some Eastern Iowa schools that use. I contacted them to ask who would take, to see whose name we could get to and who had room. They use a team approach. They have a team of educational lawyers, and they take your issue and they assign it to somebody within the team. In order to use their services, they want the board to pass a proclamation that says that they are the attorneys. If you look in your packet, they have their paperwork of what you're signing to sign on. One of them is the cost. It kind of depends on what your issue is and what lawyer you're going to be assigned. So your billing, where Rick's billing was the same, or whatever you paid Rick, you paid all the time. This one, depending on what lawyer you're going to be working on. The one thing is, Teresa, do you remember how much Rick was per hour?
150.
That's what I was thinking, something in that range.
Yeah.
These guys are more expensive. But every one of them is more expensive. So we will have, when we budget, we're gonna have to budget more for lawyer costs. But they're still, I would guess, the legal expert, at least in central Iowa, if not all of Iowa. So I would recommend that we look at using them.
I'll make the motion to use Ehlers and Cooney as our legal representative.
One second.
Been moved and seconded to appoint Taylor and Cooney to be our legal representative for the remainder of the year. This is something we do every year at our organizational meeting. And it just so happens this year, because of the retirement, then we have this is an annual thing, so we can reconsider whenever, but I have worked with one or two of the people listed on their list. Beth, I worked with at ISB.
We have used them.
We use them for all of our real estate transactions and building transactions.
Don't they do our bonding?
They do
Yeah,
our
they do
bond.
all that stuff.
That's what I thought.
Anything that Rick didn't do, he sent over to this group.
Right, so I think they're a very, very good firm. As he said, everything goes up in price. And we have cut down usage, because Rick used to do all of our negotiations.
Yes.
And I mean, he was up here a lot, and we haven't done that.
I've done it all since I've been
Right,
here.
so we have cut back on usage, so we really have saved quite a bit over the last few years, I think. Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Purchases over 25,000.
None at this time.
Board member reports. How was the basketball game?
Well, I left with about a minute and 10 seconds left in it, but I was gonna tell him, at the game we were at Friday night in Buffalo Center, they have a really nice camera up on the wall that follows the action back and forth. And I had two parents come up to me and say, we need to look into this.
We've looked into it. Lance can put a little bit on. Those are about $10,000 plus your subscription fee.
And then I talked to Mr. Erickson a little bit, and he just talked
Yep.
about how they really have gotten a lot of positive feedback from it, so.
The other side of that is it's a subscription service, so our people that watch would then have to subscribe to be able to watch the games, and we're not opposed to it.
So-
Again, the buy-in is expensive, but on the back end, the setup, you can set the games up way ahead of time, and the camera turns on automatically.
Right, who has to subscribe though? Because I don't think we had to do anything to watch it Friday night.
I know there's two plans. One, you pay a heck of a lot more in and no one has to subscribe, or you go the subscription method, and then the viewers have to
There's
subscribe.
one that the viewers can, they will charge to watch the game too. So we get, if we get another round of COVID money, I just had the conversation with Rich again today, it will be something we look at because people like it and grandparents like it because they can watch it from anywhere. We just bought this week the GoPro camera and set up so we can do a wide angle thing to get us through this year, and we'll look to do it next year. But my theory is once they're up, people are gonna want it, and it's gonna be something that you have. And so we have had the discussion about the one that will follow. So we don't understand how it works yet, but we
Right.
know that it will follow the action.
I've watched Garrigan and I watched West Bend from home too, and those were very nice. I don't know if they were similar.
There's
But
two,
they
there's
had
huddles and
Put
there's another
scores
one.
down in the corners
Yeah.
too for you, where ours, with it just being somebody doing Facebook or
You gotta look. at
whatever, you can't really
Yeah.
see it. So
So
just,
we are looking into that. It won't be this year. It would be some project that we put into it. So, but it is expensive. You'd have to use COVID money to justify it.
I just said I would bring it
Yeah.
to our attention, so.
Any other board member reports? Superintendent's report.
Starting return from Christmas, we are back to our normal hours. To start the school year, we ended the elementary and the middle school 10 minutes early to allow for buses to do the 2 loops. We're still running 2 loops. The second loop is we're not to 3:30 yet, so we're gonna work with transportation to see what we can do with that. But we are running normal hours. That will help us if we do have snow days when you get to the end of the school year, when you're trying to count your hours and your minutes. 10 minutes a day adds up pretty quick. So, and we want to get back to as much as normal as possible. So we did start that when we came back. COVID updates. We are group 1B for the COVID vaccine. That would be the next group that goes out. I think you're looking at February, mid-February, end of February, probably. When they do it, once you get the shot, then you have to wait around 15 minutes to see if you have any type of reaction, and then you're free to go. I believe that when we administer it at school, we either have to do it on an early out day or we have to make an early out day to do it, because when I bring in groups, to have teachers out of the classroom 20 to 25 minutes is not gonna work. And if you have somebody that's not feeling well, you don't wanna send them back into a group with kids. So,
Or if you had a previous allergic
Yeah.
reaction, they have to stay for 25.
yeah, so when it comes, we will offer them, but there may be just an adjustment to the calendar. If it doesn't work, we're gonna say, you know, on this day, we're gonna let out early for this. When we come back to do the second chance, we'll have to do it that way too. I've heard that the second shot may make you feel not as well the next day. If that's the case, we might try to look to do it on Friday if we could, or adjust it, but we'll work with public health, and when it's available, we're definitely gonna offer it to staff that want it. We're just gonna have to readjust our calendar a little bit. The governor came out last Thursday at 5 o'clock and said that we could open sporting arenas up to anybody, and we just had to maintain the social distancing. What this newscast ended up saying is the part about the 6 feet social distancing. The 5 o'clock announcements do not do us any good because it gives us no time to plan. So on Friday, we were in meetings all morning with the conference and with ourselves, trying to figure out how we can do it. You cannot do it. If you want to keep groups social distance, more people can come, but in a family group, you still, to do 6 feet, you're still limited to 25 spots on each side. If you open it up and you have a bunch of kids come and they take those seats, by the time you get to your boys game, you're gonna have parents that won't be able to get in and see their kids play. So unless you have a 3,000 seat gymnasium, it doesn't do us any good. So for the time being, we are maintaining with what we are. That is a conference rule. Osage has a big gym, so Osage will let more people in. When we get to teams that will allow more people in, we will just notify the parents and the people that can do it. But as of right now, especially for Eagle Grove, we are maintaining with family unit groups, and we'll keep them 6 feet apart. Masks are required.
I stayed up at Buffalo Center Friday night, and their comment was they were going to look at it, but it wasn't even an issue on our side, that they had to kind of clear it
See,
to
and that
allow them back in.
the-
So I think on the visiting side, we're probably not.
how it's been from the clearing
As difficult.
standpoint, we've always cleared it out and then brought them back in. The events that kind of worry us, when you have a parents' night, you have more people that are going to be there. Second of all, we host the county wrestling tournament. You're gonna have a lot of people. That generates a lot of interest. You have Belmont, you have Clarion, you have Eagle Grove. They're all close. We will limit that to parents only. Otherwise, you're just gonna be out of room and your parents aren't gonna be able to watch. So as for the time being, we are going with status quo until they get rid of the 6 foot rule or say, you know, common sense social distancing. We don't have the room to do it anymore. Once we get to spring sports, I think we'll be okay because you're back outside. So some decisions that will have to be made in the spring still will be graduation. What can you do with graduation? And then prom. I will do everything in our power to have prom, because you have a junior class that didn't get one last year. You know, you could have a group that actually goes through high school and not has it. So we will do everything in our power to do something with that. It's kind of going to be what the state's going to allow and what the state's not going to allow. So graduation, we had people that liked it outside. I'm not opposed to that. If even in a normal year, if you can do it outside and the weather's bad, move it inside, might be something to explore, because you got a lot more fresh air outside. It lets us spread out more. So especially in COVID years, I think that's something that we look at again. If you do it a month earlier, it might not be so hot too.
I was just gonna say, other than Brian,
It was a little warm this time, but if we do it in May, I'm hoping we don't have to worry about that. So, we are starting our planning for next year. We will start to advertise for our open positions and start filling the pieces in with it. We have non-certified negotiations this year. That's EGESA. Once we know what the state's going to give for allowable growth, we can start that process. That one I may start earlier because most of it is special ed related, and you can have those conversations. They have to bring us a proposal first. I have told them that when they bring that, then we'll respond to them and answer it. EGEA, which is our teachers union, we have a 3-year contract, but we still divvy up the money with it. Once we know what our allowable growth is and we can see from a budget standpoint what we want to do, I will meet with them, we'll figure out what the money is, and then we'll bring the proposal to you. I still want to get those contracts out. as early as we can, and there's a date, I think it's March 15th, but as early as we can, so you know what staff is coming and going, and you can get some people locked in. So, migrant, Aaron asked me earlier about migrant title position that's in the packet. That is an add-on, or migrant money, and migrant money is based on people that move to your community for an agricultural related job for the first 3 years. It went from 0 to 15,000 to 22,000 to 92,000. So from last year to this year, it jumped significantly. We looked at the best ways to spend it. We believe the best way to spend that is on staffing, when we're going to do staffing. When you get into the title of the migrant that pays some other stuff, it does not have enough money to pay for an entire year. We hired a teacher for the second semester to work with these kids that, it just got to be migrant kids, but it can kind of relieve some of the pressure off our title too, with math deficiencies and reading deficiencies. And then at the end of the year, we'll look to put them into an open spot into the elementary. That is kind of my plan moving forward until one of those get either a significant increase or goes away. Because when you're talking 3 years, if you do not have kids keep moving in, you can see that 92 go to 50 to go to 30 again, and then you just get rid of it. They've also talked about one of Biden's thing was to significantly increase your title allotment. If they do that, then you can kind of switch it to the other side and put some title into it. One problem you have with that is you got to have room for a teacher. Every time you have a teacher, you got to have a classroom for them or double them up. So we kind of got to be careful with that. There is another round of stimulus money coming. We do not have specifics, but there is a meeting now Thursday at 10 a.m. to where they'll probably tell us what we're getting and how we can spend it. I think it will be a significant amount of money, but there's always strings attached to it on what type of category you can put it into. So then we kind of got to, you can hit some wish list with it, but you got to figure out what you can do and what you can't do with it. So I should have more on that in the next few meetings once we decide how we can allocate that. Does anybody have any questions for me? That's all I have then.
Okay, time for our favorite motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.